The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
See if you can remember this voice out of your past. Welcome to the frozen tundra of South Jersey. Or at least it was yesterday. Remember when we were kids, I remembered that it had to snow at least, 6 inches before you got up from school. Now they cancel it the night before. I just an observation of how things change over the years, and saying that we have changed. We are now. We close the school when it rains. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. And as always, our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. That's 609-407-1450. Got a lot to talk about today. Once again this week, we get the year started with you and me and what happens with the world and politics and all of that stuff. So we'll kind of talk it all out today, and we'll get back to our guests next week and the following week and into the new year. So it's you and me against the world today, 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose. What are we going to talk about today? Well, you can bet we're going to talk about Trump, but a few other things. Bob Menendez refuses to resign, and there's a candidate who is kind of looming large, and he's a Democrat. And I'm considering having him on the show because he is a quality candidate. His name is Andy Kim, and he represents really part of our district, I believe. But we'll talk about that and a lot of other things. But as always, we want to talk about what you want to talk about, 609-407-1450. I wanted to talk a little bit to start off the show about the Iowa caucus. And, of course, Donald Trump, it was pretty much a landslide. But the number 2 and number 3 in the Republican primary race, because that's really all we have to talk about now. And I want to say a few things about those candidates. The number 2 candidate, Ron DeSantis, and number 3, Nikki Haley. I don't know how you feel, but clearly we are talking about number 1, Donald Trump, and we will continue to do that. But is Nikki Haley trying to make a name for herself? Is she trying to outdistance herself from Ron DeSantis? She's made some statements during the campaign. You remember this a couple of weeks ago. First, she said the cause of the Civil War, and she didn't mention slavery. Okay. Well, I don't know where she got that from. Then this week, she was on Fox, and she said that America is not a racist country and has never been a racist country. Now, you want to tell that to one of the relatives from one of the riots in the 60s, like Selma or any others? Come on. Never been a racist country? Well, in the 60s and the 50s, yeah, it was mostly in the South. And then she talks about when she was governor of South Carolina, I think it was 2015, she really, what she did was she made them, she took down the Confederate statue. That's what she did. And then she announced that she was a woman of color. Now, I didn't know this till I read the article, but she was she's an American Indian, or I don't know, but whatever it is, all of a sudden now we're trying to fit a narrative that maybe she's a woman of color, she doesn't believe in racism, or there isn't a racist country, or then she takes down the statue. Like, where is this? What is she trying to do? Is she trying to kind of separate herself from Ron DeSantis? And by the way, Vivek Ramaswamy has dropped out of the race. I know you're sad about that. And so is Asa Hutchinson. He's a former governor. He dropped out of the race. I don't know. What are we going to do without Asa Hutchinson? But anyway, so it's like she's talking about things, and it seems like she's inconsistent with what she's talking about. And I know, and then I heard this week, and I don't know how true this is, so I really can't back it up yet. But I heard that there was an affair between her communications director and so, I mean, all these kind of things. But these things always come out when there's a political race. But what I'm trying to say here is that is she sort of mimicking Kamala Harris? And if she is, I wouldn't want to touch her with a 10-foot pole. Kamala Harris was on The View on Wednesday, and she said that while the history of racism in America shouldn't be reduced to a soundbite, racism has played a role in the history of our nation. Okay. I missed that episode of The View with Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm so upset. But do you follow this? That there seems to be an issue here that she grew up in a rural town and she knows what racism is firsthand because she was a woman of color. So it's like I'm getting these conflicting things. And listen, I just want to close the book on Nikki Haley. That's what I would do. I mean, if I was considering voting for her, what do you believe in, Nikki? What is it that you really believe in? You're a woman of color, which I didn't know about. I mean, maybe you knew about it. I didn't know about it. You're a woman of color. You experienced racism. We're not a racist country. And you sound like Kamala Harris. So, like, where are you? That's really what confused me. And I was doing this, I was preparing for the show, and I was reading all these things, and I said, this is Kamala Harris Part 2. But here's the thing. I don't know about you, but I am tired of discussing race. I'm tired of racism, and that's all we hear about. There are issues in this country that we have to deal with. We'll certainly talk about several of them today. But the issues are more than race. They are more than that. And we concentrate so much on race, and we kind of ignore other things. And it to me, it's just a crutch for those on the side of we're a racist country. Well, it's easy to say. Well, you're a racist. I've had people, and I told you the story years ago. I was going out with a girl, and she says, "You're a racist." I said, "What?" Now, she was 1/8 black. Okay, this is the story. She's 1/8 black, and she says, "You're a racist." I said, "Well, what qualifies me for that?" Well, you know, way back when, you said that Donald Trump was a good president. Well, he was, but he's like Hitler. And I said, "How many people did he kill?" And that ended the discussion and the argument right there. But do you follow what I'm saying? It's just, and this is more of the same. And Nikki Haley, to kind of come to this level, I don't know. But maybe, I doubt it. Maybe Trump will pick her as vice president. I don't know. But if she's vice president, I'm not so crazy about that. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We bring in the man who is much more eloquent than me and can certainly talk about that and other things. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity. Seth, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. I don't know if I'm going to be that articulate because it's freezing down here. I'm in West Palm Beach. It's 62 degrees, and I have my sweatshirt on, so I'm trying to stay focused.
Well, it's 20 here. It's 20, all right?
and once again, you get me off my prepared notes. But so anything you want to know about the official libertyandprosperity.com agenda, it's all posted on the website. But what I found interesting about the Iowa caucuses is the Iowa caucuses, the results were almost identical to the informal poll I took when I was guest hosting for you last month. And I took about just a random 8 to 10 calls, and it was 50% for Trump, and the other 50% divided between DeSantis, Haley, and Ramaswamy. So it's going to be very interesting if after New Hampshire on Tuesday and South Carolina next week, if it comes down to a two-person race, will Trump pick up the votes of the people who drop out and have an overwhelming majority, or will it be a 50-50 split basically going into the convention? And I don't want to comment on it because when I went off track last week, I was greeted with a bunch of boos when I walked into the Liberty and Prosperity breakfast that takes place every Saturday morning from 9:30 to 10:30 at Sal's Cafe at Groveland Avenue and New Road in Summers Point. So I'm going to leave it right there.
Okay. You won't get booed today. You won't get booed.
No, and then afterwards you say, "Oh, we're only kidding you." But it's funny. A lot of at the Liberty and Prosperity breakfast, a lot of folks just listen to your show in the parking lot in their cars until the meeting starts, and they come in, and a lot of the discussion is what was said on the John DeMasi show. So you really affect the conversation. Anyway, last week I talked about this intrusive survey that's mailed out to about 10% of the households in America, called the American Community Survey. And you're told if you don't answer all these intrusive questions about your race, your ethnic background, when you're sick, what doctor you see, what cooking fuel you use, all that stuff, that you are threatened with a $100 fine for each question you don't answer, and a $500 fine if you make a willfully false statement. So I did do the research on it, and it's all posted on the libertyandprosperity.com website. I was certain that this thing started with Obama, but like so many woke Democrat agenda items, this whole survey started with the George Bush administration in 2005 with a Republican Senate and Republican House of Representatives that authorized the Census Bureau to do this basically unconstitutional census to gather facts to promote a woke agenda. So what happens if you don't answer the questions? Even though it says, or they tell you that you will be fined, since 2005, there has not been a single person charged with a penalty who refused to answer the survey. And we give a detailed in our website. There's an organization called the Rutherford Institute has a form letter that they recommend sending to the Census Bureau. And if you're threatened in any way, they will give you legal representation. So all that's posted on our website. Second thing is one of our members, a guy called Dave Goloff, put together a program that's online called mytake.live. And I've been using it to get the news since I've been in Florida this week. And it's absolutely amazing because he has all the major news outlets divided into left-wing, right-wing, and mainstream. And it's incredible that so many really important stories would be covered by the left, but not by the right. In other words, they'd be covered by MSNBC, but not by Fox. and a lot of stuff that's of interest to both the left and the right is not mentioned at all in the mainstream media. So I make a point of looking at it every 5-10 minutes every day, and it really gives you an idea not just what the news is, but how the news is being spoon-fed to different people on the left and the right. So Dave Goloff has been one of our members for years. I just want to promote this great thing I think he did.
By the way, we are going to have him on the show again. He was on before, and some of our audience didn't understand it completely. So he's going to come back on, and he's going to kind of walk us through on the computer. And he doesn't know it yet, but he'll be on sometime.
Okay.
He doesn't know it yet. I'm telling you, he's going to be on sometime in February.
Right. So what he does, it's not like he's filtering the news to tell you what's important and what's not important. He's just giving an explanation of how the left-wing media, the right-wing media, and the mainstream, how they filter out the news, so you could look at all three of them and figure out for yourself what's going on. So, and I think he will give a presentation at one of our meetings coming up where he'll do it in details. The next thing, of course, our major event is Craig Calloway will be speaking to us on February 17th, our fundraiser. And every time we talk about Craig being our guest speaker, there's like another angle that comes up. But I'd say one of the most important angles, there are so many people who were shocked during the 2020 election when they go to bed at night and they see that Trump is leading in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And then they wake up the next day and they find out that Trump is losing in those states. And they're saying, well, how could that possibly happen? And so we have our motto, what happens to America happens to Atlantic City first. And we have to remind people that in 2001, Jim Whalen was running as an independent for mayor of Atlantic City against a Democrat named Lorenzo Langford. And when everybody went to bed on election night in Atlantic City in 2001, of course, Whalen, the independent, was winning. And then 2 days later, of course, Langford, the Democrat, won overwhelmingly because of 1,500 paper ballots that had been gathered by Craig Calloway, our guest speaker. So Craig will be explaining how that happens and how what was a shock in Atlantic City in 2001 has become normal in the rest of America 20 years later. And it's very interesting. And just like with that American Community Survey, the paper ballots, the election season, the early voting, all that mishmash, it didn't start with Obama. It was Republican President Bush and Republican Congress that did the Help America Vote Act of 2001 that gave us this nonsense. And Craig Calloway figured it out and used it to his advantage. And, you could either learn from him or you could ignore him. The choice is yours, but I think you're always better off learning something. So that's going to be February 17th. If you want to buy the tickets, they're $75. And no, the money doesn't go to Craig Calloway. The money goes to Liberty and Prosperity so he could keep taking ads on the John DeMasi program and stuff like that. So,
well, I'm going to buy my ticket, but, I'll be there in spirit.
And we'll take video of it as we do all the time. All right. The other thing that's interesting is if you're watching the news, you're watching about the Houthis and Hamas and the Taliban, and you wonder who are all these crazy people, with these crazy names. And we've explained that on our libertyandprosperity.com website in response to Governor Murphy. Because today, this is January, which in New Jersey is Muslim Heritage Month. And that was declared by the joint session of the legislature last year, Republicans and Democrats. And so it's important, I think, for us all to understand what Islam is all about. And the insight that we have in this, in this week's newsletter, and if people want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can either contact, me through info@libertyandprosperity.com or subscribe directly through the libertyandprosperity.com website. But we have 13 important facts about Islam that we have posted on our site, and it's amazing how many military experts and world leaders just don't understand these basic facts about Islam. And have you ever heard the term Wahhabi or Salafi?
I heard of Wahhabi, but I don't know what it means.
All right. Well, I'll give it just a rough outline of what makes, the Wahhabis and the Salafis. And by the way, the Hamas and the Houthis and the Taliban, they're all basically Wahhabi and Salafi interpretations of Islam. But we all know that in Judaism and Christianity, if you read the Old Testament of the Bible, you'll read passages about when the Hebrews go into Canaan and they smite the Canaanites and they smite the Amalekites and they murder women and children and commit all these horrible atrocities, and that's in the Old Testament. And a lot of people say, well, see, Christianity and Judaism, they're barbaric, but they miss the whole point. And the whole point of the Old Testament and the New Testament is to recognize that in the past we had barbaric times, and as we got to know God better, we grew out of those barbaric times, and we're civilized today. And basically, Islam started to do the same thing about 1,000 years ago. But in this barren section of Arabia called Najd, you had these two scholars, radical, violent scholars. One guy was called Tamiya in the 1300s. Another guy was called Wahhab in the 1700s. And they basically preached that Islam had gone soft and was no longer doing what Muhammad and what they called the pious predecessors, the first three generations of followers of Muhammad back in the dark ages of the 700s. They said these were the people who practiced pure Islam, and anyone who did not do the barbaric things that they did was really not a true Muslim. And so it was this violent, intolerant sect. They brought wars and misery and punishment and subjugating women, and they would not allow dancing. They wouldn't allow music. Everything you see in Afghanistan today, this is what they were preaching. But here's what's interesting. Until about 50 years ago, the Wahhabis and the Salafis, they were rejected by most Muslims around the world because they were intolerant, they were violent, they were ignorant, and they were dishonest in the way they misinterpreted these Islamic texts. But what happened 50 years ago, when the price of oil went up, and by the way, these people were only in Saudi Arabia, and so they were in the middle of the desert, and nobody cared what they were saying. But as soon as they had the oil prices skyrocket in 1973, the Saudis pumped billions of dollars every year to promote this radical doctrine, this intolerant and violent doctrine of the Wahhabis and the Salafis. And that's what you see in these pro-Hamas demonstrations around New York City and America today. That's the Houthis, that's Hamas, that's the Taliban. And that's what we have to recognize, and that's what we have to deal with. So it's all, I know it's a long piece, but I really think your listeners would benefit if they go to libertyandprosperity.com and look at those 13 basic facts about Islam. That whole Wahhabi and Salafi, the word Wahhabi and Salafi should be everyday household words, because those are our enemies. And just like we learned about the Nazis and the Japanese during World War II, before we could defeat them, if we're going to defeat the Wahhabis and Salafis, we have to know what they're all about.
Well, that was pretty impressive. Listen, Seth, I want to break format here for just a bit.
Sure.
John, one of our listeners, has a question for you, so we'll put him on with that question. Then we'll sure. Give him his own time. So, John, you're on the line, and good morning. Welcome to the show. You're on with Seth Grossman.
Yes, I want to ask Mr. Grossman a two-part question, a part A and a part B. Please don't answer the A until I follow up with the B. In 2007. Okay. Meat and potatoes of it. I'll get right to the meat and potatoes. In 2017, when Trump took office for the first year, it was $20.245 billion American taxpayer monies, and it rose to $27 billion, 720 trillion rather, 748 billion. That means it rose $7,503 billion on his watch. However, in 2019, it rose $5 trillion from 22 trillion $719 billion to $27,748 billion. So it rose $5 trillion in 1 year. Now, here's what happened. In 2019, we had trade wars. In 2020,
are you giving me a question, or
I'm getting right to the question right now. Right now. Part A. Trade wars and COVID-19 with concomitant recession. Was that a contributor to the rise in debt? And also, Part B, there was a President Ron DeSantis. How would he have done any differently? Thank you.
All right, John, you can hang on and ask the. Oh, he's off. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's assuming a whole lot of stuff. It's not really a question, because what makes an economy, running an economy is like running like a big oil tanker. I mean, a lot of people think that the economy of running a country is like a little motorboat. You turn the steering wheel and the motorboat goes in a certain direction. When you're dealing with a whole running a nation, you're like doing a giant oil tanker. So, if you want to change the direction of the ship, you have to change the direction 20 miles before the ship actually turns. So to say that something happened in 2017 and then 2 years later something different happens, it takes years and years for policies to take effect. All I could tell you is that, Trump, he appointed Goldman Sachs, what was his name, Steven Mnuchin, as his Secretary of the Treasury to run the economy. The way Mnuchin ran the economy was with massive deficits, with massive bailouts for Wall Street. And yeah, just like when you run up your credit cards, you're living a good life and everything's going well. But then when you have to pay the money back, then everything crashes.
Yeah.
So the real question is, what caused the inflation, the Biden inflation of 2021? Did it begin with the $8 trillion that Trump added to the debt during the 4 years he was president, or not? I mean, Trump certainly did a lot of good things. He promoted drilling of oil and he promoted the pipelines. What Trump did not do, and this is what Ron DeSantis does, Trump did not promote the culture. He did not say that global warming is a hoax. He did not say we've got to stop brainwashing our kids into believing that they have to declare a war on fossil fuels. We've got to build nuclear plants. So even though Trump did all the right stuff with the drill, all the drilling stopped as soon as he left office, because half the country was brainwashed into thinking that the planet's going to burn up if we didn't suddenly stop, drilling for oil, and if we didn't suddenly stop, building wind turbines off of Atlantic City. So I don't know if I really answered John's question, but it's a little more complicated than he went on. And this is why we have these discussions at Liberty and Prosperity. So anyway, it's 9:30. I wish I could say I'm on my way to the Liberty and Prosperity meeting that we have Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 10:30, but it's going to be a little tough for me to get there from Palm Beach, Florida. So, and by the way, if anyone who does show up, maybe they'll get what they're looking for. They'll get 100% pro-Trump vote on the straw poll we take every week, because I'm not going to be there. So here's your opportunity.
Okay. Well, you enjoy your 62-degree weather while we suffer in 20 degrees, okay? Yeah,
libertyandprosperity.com. All the stuff I wanted to say is posted right there. So thank you very much, and
Thanks.
Have a great week.
Thanks, Seth. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, and the website libertyandprosperity.com. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have Craig, and maybe we'll have you at 609-407-1450. Back with our calls and more Talk with a Purpose after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Oh, we're back. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Craig in Northfield, and I know he's got a lot of stuff for us. Craig, good morning.
Well, how are you, John?
I'm good. I recovered from
out there.
I recovered from the Eagles' loss and the snow.
Oh, I'll tell you, the best part about the Eagles losing?
The season's over.
No, that we didn't have to hear it from the Cowboys fans.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, can you imagine that?
Yep.
Anyway, let's see what happens there. Well, let's see. They had the economic forum. I guess you didn't know about that, right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see that over there? Oh, my God. Maria over there, she's a bright woman. But she had J.P. Morgan and Schwab on. And, I got to tell you, John, who's big and bigger than big? I really never realized it. And the only job that he's ever had under his job title is Speaker of the House. Who do you think I'm talking about?
Let me see. Kevin McCarthy?
Nah.
Let's see. We got
Paul Ryan.
I'll be quick and then it'll be you.
Who's that?
I'll give it to you. Paul Ryan.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Oh, I forgot about him.
Remember, Mr. Portrait, he's got 3 portraits over there in the Capitol building. Not one. I think he's got more portraits than Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
The Speaker of the House, a 52-year-old guy, okay, of all of a sudden, he's on the board of Fox. So now you know what happened to Fox. And Seth, I just want to tell you, Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House, so that's why health care didn't get done. That's why you're probably right. We didn't have as much energy as we want. Paul Ryan's not for nuclear. But, Schwab came out and said, did you hear what Schwab said?
No.
We don't need elections.
Oh, jeez.
They can make, do you see what's going on there? So
yeah.
Paul Ryan, okay, don't forget, that ran for vice president. He's there sitting with Schwab, and didn't say a word. We're talking about the guy that was the number, 3 person? Wanted to turn away our elections. But J.P. Morgan got interviewed by Maria Bartiromo. I forget exactly how you say it.
Bartiromo.
But she's okay, thank you. She's the financial genius. And he said, you know what? And this guy is a Dem. He said that Trump was a very good president. So, I heard Seth talking about Iowa there. He didn't seem to mention that out of 99 counties, Trump won 98 of them.
Yeah, and I think he lost the other one by 1 vote.
Well, he lost that other one, but don't forget that the Democratic Party really knew that, and they were actually switched parties over there like they're going to do in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Nikki's quite a slick little girl. They're calling her Quickie Nikki right now. Did you know that?
No.
Well, you brought it up.
I did bring up, but my point was she's talking out of both sides of her mouth. That's all.
Oh, no. When I say Quickie Nikki, I'm talking about the 2 affairs that she allegedly had that's coming out right now.
Yeah,
and she talked about her husband who's in the military. Talk about stand by your man.
Yeah, I saw that.
She didn't do that she didn't do it with her husband. You saw how she didn't do it with Trump after she promised that if Trump ran, that she would never run. So, and then it goes on to, you saw Trump was in court this week. He wasn't allowed to even, the judge didn't want him to go bury his mother-in-law, but we got to come for a rape case. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that, yes.
Okay, did you know she destroyed all the evidence?
No.
Oh, yeah, the dress she had, no dress. And of all the photographers, all the cameras, in the department store, and you know how many cameras are in that department store, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right? There's not one of Donald Trump even in the building. and the past juror, don't forget, it's not, this case isn't about the rape. She's suing him for defamation.
Yeah,
just
I
about
know
what
that.
He said,
yeah,
right?
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's pissed because he's, defaming her because he says, no, I would never, ever go near you. You're just not my type with that face. You know how Donnie does.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And here's the kicker, though, okay? The kicker is, who financed this whole thing?
Who?
And gave her the whole idea. Well, not finance. Gave her the idea. Kelly Ann Way's ex-husband.
Wow.
George.
Wow.
I got to give you some stuff here today.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. So now, you know how much George hated Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, he hated Donald Trump so much, he gave his marriage up for that. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And put his kids in jeopardy. Look what happened to his children from all that. So the man, said, the guy said it on the radio last week about Trump derangement syndrome. You should take a look at that because I think you do have a little bit of a cough with that.
Yeah.
All right. We talked about January 6th, and then I'm going to get off because this is important. Especially to the police officer that called and said, all those people should get arrested. And if you noticed, they could find all those people that went there by using their credit card, the scan on their license plate. They still haven't found the guy that planted the bombs. Remember them?
Yeah.
The bombs?
Yeah.
Democrat and Republican committee house they're building. Yeah. Well, you know what? If they found the guy, I'm just going to say this to you. It's on video. You can go to Tucker Carlson. It just came out. I think I might have sent it to you. So here's the guy, plants the bomb, and he walks over to the next driveway of the building. It might even be a driveway of the building. And in the driveway are two cop cars. One looks like a blacked out SUV. You know who drives those.
Yes.
I'm not going to say because, John, if I disappear after this week,
Okay.
And then the other vehicle is a Washington, D.C. Capitol SUV. And he goes over and he talks to those guys afterwards. Did your mouth drop?
Yeah.
I mean, so here they know exactly who did that, but that guy never got arrested. We've never seen him. So if you're wondering how really, about this, our Justice Department, how fair it is, just remember Peter Navarro, who didn't come in front of the January 6th committee. Remember that? He says, I don't have to come to that because it's not really a committee.
Yeah.
What did they do to him?
Yeah.
They put him in shackles, right?
Right, yeah.
Right at the airport?
Yep.
And when Hunter thumbed his finger, at Congress, what happened to him?
Nothing.
He got a redo.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to leave you with that.
Yeah, all right.
Have a great year, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the call, Craig. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have George, we have John, we have Andy, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. We'll do all of that after we take a break here on Talk with a Purpose. We're coming back with more in just a moment. But first, this week, there is nothing better than homemade soup from B.F. Mazzeo. This has been a cold week, especially yesterday. Wow. It was cold and snowy and nothing goes better than a B.F. Mazzeo homemade soup. And what did I have the other day? Yesterday, the Italian wedding soup. it was delicious. Just the way my aunt used to make it every year, and it just tasted like that. And that's really an amazing thing for me to say that. B.F. Mazzio, 601 New Road in Northfield, homemade soups, prepared foods, baked goods, you name it, they have it. B.F. Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, and online at bfmazzio.com. You know, we're getting ready for the big game. We're not allowed to say Super Bowl, so we don't say it. We're getting You like the way I snuck that in? We're getting ready for the big game. You're having a party, and a lot of people get together to watch the game. And, you know, I don't have any interest in it this year, but that's another story. But if you are having a party, and a lot of people do, BF Mazzio is the place, because they will cater the sides for you, the salads, and all of that stuff, fruit salad, potato salad, coleslaw, you name it, macaroni salad. They have all of that, and they can custom make it for you. So you do that too. BF Mazzio, as I said, baked goods, prepared foods, homemade soups to die for. I mean, there's so many varieties, and when you go there, you'll see for yourself how many varieties there are. BF Mazzio, online at bfmazzio.com. That's bfmazzio.com. We're coming back with more of Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Windy, cold, clouds and sun today. The high today only 25. Clear, windy, cold night tonight, low 16. And then sunshine, a cold wind for tomorrow. The high tomorrow at 32. On Monday, it'll be partly sunny. A little bit warmer. The high Monday afternoon at 39. I'm AccuWeather's Steve Williams on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at comcast.net. jdadv1 at comcast.net. Feel free to email me anything you like, pro, con, program suggestions, you name it. jdadv1 at comcast.net. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. George is on the line from AC. Good morning, George. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John DeMasi.
Good morning, George.
Well, I'd like to speak for a few moments, if I may, about Trump derangement syndrome, just in general terms, and then specifically get into something with that, okay?
Okay.
You know, I look at it like there must be varying degrees of it, you know, like the threat alerts, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Okay, like, when you get up to a 5, I guess it's like Joy Behar from, the View, or that guy George, the husband Kelly Way.
Yeah.
Kellyanne, I mean.
Yeah.
So you got varying degrees. And, basically, unfortunately, a big chunk of the Democrat Party is like in the 4s and the 3s range. And then you get down to the 1, and then just like a little bit of it. Some people have like a little sprinkling of it. Well, there's a guy that I love. He's fantastic in every way, shape, and form. I respect him so much. And he knows it's true for over 40 years. And that's Seth Grossman. But he's got a little bit of that dust around him. He's really... And thank goodness, Seth, I know you can hear me now because you can't go into your meeting because you just said you're in Florida. So this is a good moment. I haven't captured, I think. Okay. here's the situation. Seth absolutely ended it up with such a truthful and correct statement regarding Trump in a negative thing about Trump, about him not being able to address things properly, okay? Well, guess what? I believe in my heart that not only is Trump the only man out there that can correct this ship, okay, that's so, like Seth says, you got to, 20 miles out, you got to start turning it. Trump is ready to start turning it from day one. Like he said, he's got no time for retribution. He just wants to get things done.
Yeah.
Okay? So he already had the experience the first time round with all the Russian collusion, the this, the that, the border wall. So now he's going to be an executive for real with his experience, second to none. And so, I also like things that are organic, how if they happen naturally. Okay, so now it's sort of like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to I don't have to talk about the election of 2020. Everybody's, the American people are not stupid. Compare the two. Look at what you had when I was there. Look at what you have now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. And now, and the best part of all, and here we go, because Seth is so accurate about Trump, I would call it really brutally rough at the edges with the way that he addresses some issues,
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now he's got a guy that I think is going to be the most fantastic spokesperson for his administration, who I hope he puts him in there as press secretary, and that's Vivek, this guy Vivek.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He is good.
Yeah,
okay?
he is.
He
is
able to take command of and address the facts and the issues. Hey, so I hope and pray Trump's the one that gets in. I don't want to see DeSantis get hurt. He's a nice guy, works hard. Okay. DeSantis is 45 years old. There's time for people like him and Vivek.
Yeah.
Got a real strong bench, but there's only one guy, Seth. Nobody else has got the BALLS, Seth, and you know it. You've been in politics long enough, Seth. Nobody's got the testosterone that Donald J. Trump has. I don't care how good DeSantis is.
That's exactly right. And George,
nobody. And you know what? Let me tell you how much he's proving it. See, those of us that know of him from around here locally, the man is up beyond earlier the crack of dawn, okay, and works hard every day, whether you like him or not. And look at it, even with 3 wives and all his foibles with the women and so on. Look at the family he raised, okay?
Yeah.
His wives or whatever. All right?
He's done a good job. That's true. That's true.
And listen, the thing that you, and rightfully so, and others like, the gentleman from Cape May and, not Cape May. Yeah, I think Cape May in Florida, Bob. Okay. The concern that you guys have is legitimate regarding all the negativity of all these trials. But guess what? He is using that to show the world, okay, that guess what? We have had a dual justice system in this country for too long.
That's true.
It's not me they're coming after. They're coming after you.
Yeah, that's right. George, thanks a lot for the call. Some good stuff there. And it is true. Certainly true. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We have John and we have Andy and maybe you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 rapidly coming to a close. We'll wrap up some thoughts there. And then hour number 2 on the way. Don't go away. We have more coming up after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money. Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Oh, we are back. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. Also heard on 1450 AM and streaming online at WPGTalkRadio.com. So you have multiple ways to listen to Talk with a Purpose. Again, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. Let's go back to John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome back.
Yes, good morning. Yes, simple definition of a question. A sentence worded or expressed so as to elicit information. So Mr. Grossman said I didn't ask a question. We'll have to agree to disagree. Also, I want to go on to what I want to talk about. Anarchy, simple definition, within apostrophes, without rulers, within apostrophes, without authority. I'll even make it even more simple. Lawlessness, being lawless, okay? Now, a caller had called in last week to say that the GOP in Texas tried to sue Greg Abbott for changing laws that would help early voting. Yes, he ended up changing the law anyway, that he was sued afterwards. He moved it up from October 19th to October 13th, allowing early voting. Now, the GOP, under Texas State Party Chair Alan West, did not sue him because he was trying to make it hard for President Trump to win. No, they were out to sue him for stepping outside of the Texas state constitution. Now, our constitution is law. We have 50 states with their own concomitant constitution, and outside of that is anarchism. Now, it's provable that there are 5 battle states changed laws outside of our constitution, outside of their per state constitution. So that constitutes anarchism, whether people want to hear it or not. And also, let's see, this gentleman here, Professor J. Alex Halderman, professor of computer science and engineering, Michigan State University, has made a career studying electronic voting security, says electronic voting is way more hackable, more easily hackable than people could even imagine. And the fact of the matter is that Dominion software is electronic voting. I'm just putting that out there. And the fact that they do play dirty pool, the Democrats play dirty pool, and it's provable, we need to keep an eagle eye. We need to come up to the 21st century and realize what's going on. If you want to see the world with 20th century glasses, you need to get your lenses changed to 21st century. It's a new paradigm. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. Oh, it's fun, isn't it? This show is a lot of fun. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. Andy has been so gracious as to let us take his call in the 10 o'clock hour. So we're going to do that so we can give him some time to say what he has to say. But for right now, I just wanted to end this hour. I have been critical of the CRDA for some time, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority. As you know, many years ago, they gave the Miss America pageant $12 million. They didn't get that anywhere else, believe me. And I'm going to talk about Miss America later on in the show. But here's what the CRDA did recently. They have decided to give $20,000 a month to the Save-A-Lot supermarket in Atlantic City. They announced this right before Christmas. Boy, how would you like that for a Christmas present? $20,000 a month? They said that they were doing this hoping that the Save-A-Lot wouldn't close their Atlantic City store, and they said this will give them time to figure things out. Okay, this is the same problem that they had when they were going to build the supermarket. So they figured, hey, we're going to build a supermarket and give these people $18 million. We'll give them $20,000 over here to save a lot. Now, here's the problem, okay? This is very simple. This is what I would do. Give them a grant or whatever you want to call it for $20,000 to hire extra security guards to prevent what is obviously happening, which happens all the time. And that's why they don't get a supermarket built. Because nobody wants to deal with this massive shrinkage that they would have because they know they're going to have it. It's that simple. So instead of saying, well, look, we'll give you this provided you hire whatever it is, extra security guards. $20,000 a month? That's $250,000 a year. You can get a lot of security guards for $250,000 a year. What was that saying? Give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you'll feed him forever. Well, that's what this is. I mean, they're just giving out the money. Who knows what they're going to do with it? And I think the CRDA is afraid that Save-A-Lot will close, but they've been there for how long? They've been there a long time. But they're afraid of this, and so they give them money. I mean, sometimes they hand out money like candy. But $20,000 a month or $250 a year, that's a lot of money. And like I said, that's going to buy a lot of security guards. Or how about this? Extra security systems. And then somebody monitors the security system. And somebody says, hey, we're cutting down shrinkage because of this security system. I just, you know, the CRDA has always baffled me with the way they handle things. And when you call and ask them, oh, we can't comment on that. Can't comment on that. Oh, hour number one. That's going to wrap it up. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number one is in the books, and that means that hour number two is on the way, so don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number two, Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Good to have you with us. And as always, the number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. You want to talk about Trump? You want to talk about Nikki Haley? You want to talk about the election? Anything you want to talk about, and we are going to talk about a couple of things, which, it never ends. It never ends. 609-407-1450. Let's get started with Andy and Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Thanks for waiting. Andy?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Good morning.
Sorry, I'm on hold for 45 minutes, and just before you picked up, I get a call. I mean, it never fails.
Yeah, that's the way.
And I had to take that call.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with Nikki Haley. And I know I have some time now because I waited. So
yeah, well, we gave you the forum, all right. So here you go.
Thank you. So Nikki Haley's real name, John, is Nimarata Nikki Randhawa.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
She's not an American Indian. She's an Indian.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I
mean,
I never really knew much about her, but I didn't know that. That's just.
Okay, so now, of course, anybody now who has 1% of some blood that could possibly make them a person of color,
yes,
they're going to use this.
Yes.
I remember Elizabeth Warren, who was claiming she was a Native American.
Yes.
And so Trump had, his DNA done and all that. So it was the funniest line by Trump. Trump said about Elizabeth Warren, he said, I have more Native American blood than Elizabeth Warren, and I don't have any.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay.
They kind of, it's like a badge of honor now. If you have, like I was saying in the last hour, I went out with somebody who was 1/8 black, and she said, "Well, I'm black." I said, "Well, how about the other 7/8?" Well, that doesn't count. So yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Well, Obama was the first black president.
Yes.
But he was as much white as he is black.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So he's really the first mixed race president, if you want to be truthful about
That's
it.
right. That's right.
But see, the media needed him to be black for their narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
But that's another story. But here's the interesting thing. While Nikki Haley does not use her real name, one of her first acts that she said as president, she wants to use the power of the federal government to force social media companies to force people to use their real names and identify themselves on social media so that they can stand behind what they say. But this woman doesn't use her real name. The lies just go on and on and on with her. The first thing that turned me against her was she wouldn't run if Trump ran. So Trump ran. What did she do?
She ran. Yeah, she ran.
So here's the thing. There's a expression in law. I think it's either Greek or I think it's Latin. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. You know what that means, John?
No, we want to chew it.
If you lie about one thing, you lie about everything.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So if you're going to lie about the small things, you're going to lie about the big things, just like Joe Biden.
Right.
He lied, said he never talked to his son about his business dealings.
Right.
Well, if he had admitted that he did that, we would all understand that because every father talks to his son about his business dealings. But Joe Biden lied about that small thing, so of course we know he lies about all the big things too. Now, let's go on to Seth Grossman. And I love Seth. I've donated to him. But, Seth does suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. It might not be to the level of Joy Behar, but he definitely suffers from it. And he will take any opportunity to trash Trump. Now, John Flash from Ocean City, he took a circuitous route, but he did ask a question.
Yes.
And he asked Seth a question that Seth couldn't answer. And the reason Seth couldn't answer it is because in order to answer that question truthfully, Seth would have had to have defended Donald Trump, and Seth is loath to do that. So the question about the debt soaring during the year of COVID, well, there was a reason it soared during the year of COVID when Trump took the advice of the scientists, the expert, but he did leave it to the governors, and the country was shut down, and people got money. There was a lot of money spent because of the COVID thing, okay?
Yeah.
But let's use Seth's own analogy, and it is a brilliant one, okay? He talked about how you can't turn a tanker ship around on a dime. It takes 20 miles before the ship actually turns. That's true. So in Donald Trump's case, did you expect Donald Trump to fix all of the problems in this country that have been caused by the Democrats in 4 years? No, especially when you have the Democrats and their complicit media blocking everything Trump tried to do for 4 years, 24/7. His administration was under a cloud for 4 years. You've talked about this, John. Donald Trump was elected 20 minutes later. The New York Times was already saying the impeachment begins, right?
I remember that. I remember it well. And I said, how could you impeach a president when he just took office? I mean, he took office. I mean, it was the same day. I mean,
okay, so let's remember what Rashida Tlaib said. We're going to impeach the effort, okay?
Yep, yes.
So Donald Trump was behind the 8 ball. The minute he came down that escalator, they started after him.
That's right.
Okay? Before he even ran, okay? Of course, once he became president and the president-elect, we know they spied on his campaign. We know they spied on him as a president-elect, and we know they spied on him as president. So why doesn't Seth give Donald Trump the same wide berth and say, well, yeah, it does take 20 miles to turn a ship around. You know, let's give Donald Trump time to right the problems in this country that were, those problems didn't happen overnight either. Those problems took years.
That's right.
And Trump is supposed to turn it all around in just a couple of years when he's got the media and the Democrats fighting him at every turn. No. So let's give Trump credit for the stuff he did. An awful lot of good stuff for this country. Okay, and you know, as far as he didn't finish the wall. Well, guess what? He didn't get the money to finish the wall. They blocked it. All the material was sitting on the ground rusting because they wouldn't let him finish the wall. But the wall got started. He was in the process of finishing the wall. You know, the draining of the swamp. He didn't drain the swamp. John, how do you drain a swamp that got created over many decades, and now you're going to drain it in 4 years?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one thing Donald Trump did with the swamp, John. He exposed just how deep this swamp goes.
Oh, no question. No question.
No question. And all of these people have been forced out of the shadows. And look at what's happening on the college campuses and these people protesting pro-Hamas. This is all part of the swamp.
Yeah.
And had Donald Trump not been president, we would have never known any of the stuff that Hillary Clinton did.
Yes.
It would have never come out.
That's right.
So, you know, give the man, it takes two, that's why presidents get 2 terms.
Yes.
Give the man, and now that he's on the precipice of being president again, he knows where the skeletons are. He knows better how this whole thing works. He knows how deeply the rot goes and how deep the swamp is, and he's better positioned to deal with it. And there really is not a single politician in my lifetime of either party who could have withstood what Donald Trump has had to withstand for the past 5, 6, 7 years and still be up on his feet.
That's right.
You know, like Elton John, I'm still standing.
Andy, thanks a lot for the call. I tell you, we could talk about this forever, all right, about Trump derangement and all kinds of things, and it will continue, and we'll keep talking about it, but hopefully the country rights itself at some point. I wanted to tell you, this really got me, and I just wanted to pass this along to you.
Hey, Sarah,
do you know what we missed the other night? Do you know? I mean, it's the middle of January. We got football. We got this. We got that. We missed the Miss America pageant. That's right. The Miss America pageant, which, remember, when it was in Atlantic City, it was always the weekend after Labor Day. And, you know, it was a tradition. You knew when it was coming. You looked forward to it. I know we had all kinds of things with all events and Meet Miss America, and I remember going to a couple of them. The Miss America pageant was held on a Sunday night, and guess where it was held? In Disney World. Yes. So much for the public relations department, because did you know about it? I didn't know about it. I don't think anybody knew about it. I saw this article. What? Miss America I remember it was a couple of years in December. Now it's in January. I guess it wasn't on television. But anyway, Miss Colorado was crowned Miss America 2024. We did have a local girl, Miss New Jersey, and she's from Northfield, Victoria Mositas, but she didn't finish in the top 10. So, but congratulations, because she was Miss New Jersey. No TV deal. That's what I was. It was only streamed on the Miss America website. Come on. Remember what it used to be? National television just a couple of years ago. Boy, have they botched this thing up, and they've botched it good. I mean, when they say, "Oh, did you hear Miss America was crowned?" What? We found out Tuesday that it was crowned on Sunday. Oh, there she is. I remember that. Remember that? Bert Parks. There she is, Miss America. What did I do with the money my mother gave me for singing lessons? Well, I didn't use it for singing lessons. John is back. John in Ocean City is back.
Yes, I definitely, my heart yearns for the 20th century, but it's over. Anyway, oh, well, what do you want to do? But I want to talk about a friend of mine named Joe Mullins. I was a service bartender over in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, many, many moons ago. And we're talking about the Native American Indian heritage. I says, yes, we talked about it. He's half Navajo and half Irish American. I'm like 132nd Native American Indian. For whatever reason, it shows in my physical appearance, but I'm also Sicilian too. I've had people mistake me for Native American Indian that are Hispanic, so I'm not just blowing smoke here. But anyway, me and Joe had talked, and he had a graduation party from his trade school, and I was never a part of all that. But we were close enough friends. He invited me over, and yes, I met his father. His father is Navajo, 100% Navajo Indian. His name is Yellow Hawk, and his mother looked like a young Sally Struthers at the time. He's blonde hair, blue eyes, and that. Anyway. I'm from the brunette side of the Caucasian family. But anyway, the Native American Indian has been done wrong. Now, the four tribes of the South, the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and the Creek, assembled together, went to Washington, D.C., and won, per Supreme Court law, to stay on their native lands of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama. However, it was Andrew Jackson that drove them off into Oklahoma Territory. It's called the Trail of Tears. Also, if you go back to 1801, February of 1801, I believe it was 1801, that our federal government, under constitutional law, Supreme Court constitutional law, said no more importing of African slaves into America, and it was disregarded. There's two major examples of anarchism. So it's because of our beloved Constitution that we have what we have. Now, actually, Russell Means, a Lakota Oglala Sioux Native American Indian, authentically 100% Indian, who was a leader of the Sioux tribe in North Dakota, said he loves the Constitution, our American Constitution, because its sister document is the Guyanaskua, the Great Law of Peace, that was founded by the great medicine man, war chief, or Deganawida. And he, in lieu of a written language, they had wampum belts, which had a sign language embroidered on them. And he translated 117 articles of Confederation onto those wampum belts. And that's our sister document, not Adolf friggin' Hitler's Mein friggin' Kampf, not friggin' that nut dog Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. Socialism is not compatible with our Constitution. Now, if a brilliant black man comes along, because Deganawida was brilliant and James Madison was brilliant, and he combines the two constitutions and adds a flavor of African American to it, let's go with it. But stepping outside of our Constitution will prove to be a mistake. And it's real important that people wake up and smell the coffee brewing, because it's late in the game. Thanks for letting me call in a second time.
Okay, John, thanks for the call. 609-407-1450. We're going to talk to Sarah after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you. Been a while since we talked to Sarah. We'll hear what she has to say, and we'll hear from you too. 609-407-1450 is the number here in the studio. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us, and we have a variety of things still to talk about here on the show. If you want to chime in, 609-407-1450. Back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, I got to tell you, what a lot of people say is they hate car shopping. I mean, just the thought. My niece's brother-in-law, he's 50 years old, and he took his father with him to shop for a car because he was afraid they're going to beat him up with prices and all kinds of stuff. And you know what I love about Lexus of Atlantic City? They don't do that at all. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. You will love the way they deal with their customers. And let me just tell you my experience. I went in, my lease was up. We talked about another car. They gave me the price. I said it was too much. I'll buy the car out. Simple. There was no discussion. There was no, you know how they get he's called the TO man. They get the TO man in, which means he takes over. And he says, well, let me tell you about this car. And you're just saying, I don't want to pay that much. They don't do that at Lexus of Atlantic City. And that's probably one of the best features they have. I mean, can you imagine if you're in there and they get 3-4 people beating up on you and saying, oh, you got to get this car today because it's not going to be there tomorrow? No, they don't do that. The car sells itself. The dealership sells itself. And that's what you need to know. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, online at aclexus.com, aclexus.com. Whether it is an SUV or a sedan or a sports model or whatever it is, they have a vehicle for you. And if it's new that you don't want to go to, you want to go to pre-owned, they've got plenty of those too. L-certified pre-owned, which means their best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT, online aclexus.com, aclexus.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for LibertyandProsperity.com. Everyone who lives near the ocean or the bay knows that we have a bad storm and flooding about every 20 years. Some people want their shore houses built on pilings. However, others like me would rather pay for major repairs and improvements every 20 years than walk up and down an extra set of steps every day. At one time, Americans were free to decide what kind of house we lived in, but not anymore. If you live in any shore town from Brigantine to Cape May, you may not get a permit for new bathrooms or new kitchen unless you first spend another $75,000 to raise your house 14 feet off the ground. Learn the details and what we can do about it. Visit LibertyandProsperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. LibertyandProsperity.com.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. If you want to listen to any of our shows at any time, boy, we make it real simple for you. You Google John DeMasi Podcasts, and all of the shows come up. Boy, isn't that great, huh? You can listen to any of the shows at any time. What did I say on show number 173? I don't know. Look it up. Google John DeMasi Podcast and all of the shows come up. It's our radio version of On Demand. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Sarah. Sarah, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. I hope you're well. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. And I hope you're well too, Sarah.
Yes, I still listen. I work full-time, and Saturdays I do a part-time position because, you know, things are tough, so I had to take on something extra to help manage the household.
Well, I don't blame you because we're all in the same boat, thanks to Joe Biden.
Absolutely, you're correct. And this month I lost a great aunt of mine, and it's been a tough month. So it's
sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that.
To me, like a mother to me, one of the aunts that you can just smell the food thinking about it.
Yeah.
But thank you.
I had one of those too, believe me. I know what you're talking about.
Thank you. And one quick comment about Miss America. They don't show Miss America because they think it's an insult to women and degrading women. However, if you think about MTV and music awards and people like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh, yeah.
A baby's onesie has more clothes that they wear.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Isn't that funny though? Miss America is not politically correct, but Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and all of these Megan Thee Stallion, whatever they are. I only know this because I hear them saying their names. They're allowed. It doesn't make sense.
I challenge people to look up the lyrics of WAP by Cardi B, and when you look at the lyrics, your mouth is going to drop open.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. I
on the radio because it's absolutely filthy.
Yes.
Filthy.
Yes, it is.
Now, regarding Joe Biden, he's been a complete failure, and I'll be the first to admit that I was sucked in by the media, believing the lies against Donald Trump and believing what Biden possibly could do for us. But he failed on immigration. He just failed on inflation because everything's sky high. I remember he was buying bread $2 for $3. Now a loaf of bread is $4. Everything is double.
Oh, yeah.
Double. And Afghanistan, that's another failure where he pulled out too quickly and left the soldiers at risk and all the weapons there. Crime. People walk into the stores now with big bags, walk out. They don't do anything. They give them multiple chances, and those people involved with riots, how many of those individuals that burn down the police stations and so forth that they're hunting for? Even education.
Yeah.
Nothing has gotten better. It's gotten worse. If you're better off, they often say, are you better off today than you were before? We are worse off.
Oh, no question about it. And I don't know about you, but Sarah, rents have really skyrocketed. I mean, the rents around here especially. I mean, where I live, Brigantine, the rents have gone up in some cases 30, 40, 50%.
And taxes have gone
too,
up.
Yeah.
My taxes just increased, and I have to pay for that.
Yeah.
If not, I'm on the street.
Yeah, that's right. It's
even prescriptions. I just had a prescription, and my plan doesn't cover it, so I have to pay out of pocket. So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, and did you hear a lot of these ads for Joe Biden? Inflation is coming down. It's stabilizing. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And I liked him. I like the story that was told, but I see the light. I'm not afraid to say, no, he is bad.
That's right.
He's shaking hands with people that are not even there.
Right. That's right.
If I did that at my job, if I acted the way how he acted at my job, I wouldn't be there.
That's right.
But then look at the alternative, what we have, the vice president. So we're in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well,
it's very sad what America has become.
Yes,
it's not the America that the Constitution was written about.
Right.
It's not the country. When you look at crime out of control and the disrespect towards the police officers and teachers and the military, it's like we are a third world country. We are no longer a first world country. And we have to change.
That's
and
right.
Donald Trump is the best candidate.
We have to change.
And I wasn't for him, but I am 100, a million, a trillion% for him.
Well, I'm glad you converted, Sarah. Thanks for the call. Good hearing from you. 609-407-1450. Let's talk to Greg in Absecon. And Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. DeMasi, good morning.
Morning, sir.
The nice thing about waking up in the morning, Trump's ahead. He's winning.
Yeah, that is nice.
They're going to be bringing the wagons out pretty soon for Whoopi Whoopi, where are you? We're here to pick you up. That's going to be the sanitarium truck. Where's Joyless at?
Could you see them?
You too. Get over here.
I got to watch this. Let's assume, okay? Let's assume Trump wins. The day after the election, we all have to watch The View. We have to watch The View because we're going to have such a laugh at that show, how they're going to go crazy over, could you see this? 4 more years of Donald Trump. Oh, we're going to lose our country.
Yeah, but you're going to have to go to the sanitarium to watch them.
Yes, that's right. I can't wait for that.
The politicians are taking it one step worse. There was a time when we used to run by the laws.
Yeah.
Now they're creating a new classification called rules.
Yeah.
To replace the laws because they can't get the laws passed in unison between each other. But the rules they can do because nobody has to vote on them. Yeah. They make the rules by anywhere, by anything they want to do, and they're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. It keeps getting better.
Yes, it does. It does.
Have a good one.
You too. Thanks for the call. He brought up a good point. The day after the election, could you see Whoopi? I can't wait for her to announce she's resigning from The View. She wouldn't do that because she'd lose money. Resigning from The View, and she's going to move to somewhere, but it's not in this country. Speaking of Trump derangement syndrome, at least once or twice a week, I read another newspaper editorial, and here's how it goes. The threat of a Donald Trump second-term presidency. And this one is titled, a series of articles that this particular newspaper is presenting, and it is called A Clear and Present Danger. The stakes are high. The risks are great. America barely survived one Trump term. Another 4 years could do irrevocable damage. The choice is clear. Will voters choose democracy or a demagogue? This newspaper goes on to say that the next 10 months, the newspaper, will be dedicated to sounding the alarm that Trump remains a danger to our democracy. Then it goes on to say that the newspaper plans to detail Trump's many flaws and misdeeds while spelling out the risks of a second term. They say, put simply, Trump is unfit for office. It was in black and white, and it was just, this whole article is along those lines. Trump is unfit for office. So you get the idea. We've been talking about this Trump derangement syndrome. Those who are on the fence, if they read this and they pay attention to this, except for the radio hosts like me who point out this garbage, if they're going to run a series of articles on the dangers, why don't they do dangers of another 4 years of Biden? Could you see that? What would inflation be 4 years from now if Biden was president? It would be, I can't even imagine. But they don't say anything about that. The article concludes by saying, with the future of American democracy on the line, understanding Trump as a clear and present danger is paramount. Trump, a clear and present danger is paramount. That's what they say.
WPG.
Oh boy.
Sure. What's your name?
Could you? I mean,
where are you from?
He's a clear and present danger to whom? To what? Is he going to ruin this country? No, Biden is ruining the country. Boy, I don't know. It just continues. Why don't you point out certain things like Trump was good at this or he was bad at that, or specifics, not he's a clear and present danger, he's a threat to democracy. And where did that come from? Why, because he liked Kim Jong-un? So what? He didn't say he wants the government to be like Korea or China. He admires them. So what? Is he doing that here? That's what really bothers me about this. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We have Bob, Andy's back, and then Tim, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. We will get back to more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group, 856-751-1771, 856-751-1771, or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Windy and very cold this afternoon with times of clouds and sunshine, the high 25. Mainly clear, windy tonight, low to mid of 16. A cold wind tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, high 32 to wrap the weekend. Come Monday, partly sunny, not as cold with a high 39. Tuesday looks mostly cloudy and a bit milder with a high up to 47. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose. If you miss any of today's show or you want to hear it again, we are now on Sundays from 5 until 7. Just a 2-hour replay, 5 until 7. Every Sunday, it's the Talk with a Purpose replay right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We're going to keep the ball rolling here. We're going to talk to Bob and Cape May. Bob, you're late.
Yeah, well, it's different life down here in Florida, Johnny. I go to the farmer's market every Saturday and on my way to a haircut. So, life interferes with it. If it's my choice, I'd be calling right away in the 9 o'clock hour. But
okay. But you got 62 degrees and we got 20, so you're doing well.
John, it's been one of the coolest, wettest winters I can remember. But you know what? Who cares? I just,
right.
You can't let weather depress you. You've got to enjoy life, whatever the weather is, and enjoy. Take the good in it. That's all. It's. But look, I want to talk about Nikki Haley, and there seems to be a very real dividing line between the Republican Party of Nikki Haley versus the Republican Party of Donald Trump, and I have to say this in terms of policy positions and of Ron DeSantis.
Right.
I think it's very, very clear. John, I have a neighbor down here who is your prototypical country club Republican, has had multiple businesses, offshored most of his businesses. Okay, so in essence, what he did was move his plants. He's in a chemical business. He moved his plants to Asia, Okay. And that's what the country club Republicans are all about. And that's what the Democrats have become too. They're soft on China. They send our good paying manufacturing jobs that are really the backbone of the American middle class. They send them all overseas so they can get richer and really have no regard for our fellow Americans, and don't really have a regard for the good of society as a whole. And, we talk about Trump being a Bulgarian at sometimes, being rough sometimes. And, Ron DeSantis is a little more polished, but he's a pretty rough guy too. But their policies they've proved themselves to look out for the interests of the American people. When it comes to trade policy, when it comes to border policy, when it comes to spilling our blood overseas. And again, the reason I bring my neighbor up, he was all giddy. Liz Cheney gave a lecture here in Sarasota on Wednesday. Of course, he attended, and he was needling me a little bit. He told me he had an autographed book by a very well-known author. And when I saw him a few days later, he brings out the autographed book by Liz Cheney. Now, Liz Cheney and Nikki Haley, as I said, they're absolutely in line with one another in terms of what they want for this country in terms of policy positions.
Two peas in a pod, you'd call it, Bob. Two peas in a pod.
Yeah, exactly. And, the real danger that we have in the America First movement, the real danger, we better be careful, okay? Better be careful that and again, we don't have control over it. It's all President Trump's decision. But if he picks Nikki Haley as vice president, that's the worst possible thing he can do, John.
Yeah, I think so too.
She's going to undermine him, just like they undermined him in his first administration.
Right.
That's for sure. And there may be the benefit of assassination would increase tremendously, because then the establishment has their person in charge. So, again, Nikki Haley is just, her positions mirror the Democrats except for taxes. She'll throw some crumbs with taxes. Just like Christy Todd Whitman threw crumbs at us in terms of taxes, but she did everything to undermine the state that Jim McGreevey and Corzine and Murphy just continued.
Yeah.
The downfall in New Jersey started with Christy Whitman. And again, it's just a warning I'm issuing in terms of Nikki Haley. She's bad news. She's super bad news.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Bob, thanks a lot for the call. Thanks a lot. Good luck in Florida in 62-degree weather. Andy in Brigantine is back. Andy, good morning.
Hey, John. I agree with everything Bob just said, 1,000%. I'll tell you about the Iowa caucuses. So Donald Trump won 98 out of 99 counties. Okay?
Yes.
Nikki Haley won one county, and she won by one vote. Does anybody believe that she beat him by one vote? John, if you're gonna try to fool us, at least make it believable. Say that she won by 100 votes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So here's the thing: they wouldn't give Donald Trump the satisfaction of being able to say that he did a clean sweep. So they had to steal the one county from him with one vote. Does anybody believe that? Now, here's the other thing: 40% of Nikki Haley's support came from the Democrat voters. Okay, because you could vote either party.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what does that tell you? That these 40% of the people who chose Nikki Haley would otherwise choose Joe Biden. So you have to judge her by the people who love her. Conversely, you have to judge Donald Trump by the people who hate him.
Yes.
Okay? So that's that topic. I wanted to mention this. So this is about Iowa as well. Joy Reid on MSNBC.
Oh yeah.
Was blaming Trump's win in Iowa on white Christians. She was saying that Iowa has a heavy concentration of white Christians. So follow this logic, John. If white Christians are the reason Donald Trump is winning, then we have to do something about those white Christians, don't we, John?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, we already know they've gone after Christians. The FBI was targeting Catholic churches,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
And targeting priests, okay? So Joy Reid, and I got to thinking about this, and Joy Reid's not alone. I see people like Whoopi Goldberg doing this. I see a lot of these African-American pundits and hosts and broadcasters doing this. And this may sound harsh, but I was thinking about this. I was born in 1962. I'll be 62 in March. In my lifetime, which in the whole grand scheme of things, 62 years is not that long of a time. So in my lifetime, we went from a place in this country where blacks wrongfully were not allowed to drink off the same water fountain as I. They were not allowed to stay in the same hotels as I. They were not allowed to sit at the same lunch counter as I. And now we have African Americans on, and that was based solely because of the color of their skin.
Yes, that's
horrible,
right.
horrible how they were treated.
Yes.
Okay? But now we have black Americans who have never had to suffer that type of racism. They've never had to endure what their parents and grandparents had to endure. We have these wealthy, powerful people who have risen to the highest echelons in their industry, be it the government, be it the media, be it the entertainment industry, be it sports, etc. Okay, these black Americans who are now trashing me because I am white and because I am Christian.
Yes.
And that happened in the short span of 62 years. That's breathtaking.
Yeah.
Breathtaking.
Yeah. It is wrong. It is definitely wrong. And that,
so,
yeah, that's.
So the same people would now not have me be allowed to sit at a lunch counter or have to sit in the back of the bus. These people are perpetrating and setting us back a half a century with this nonsense. I'll be damned, and not for anything. Joy Reid, I don't know if you've seen her recently. She has straight bleach blonde hair. Now,
yeah.
if a white person got an afro, they would say that person was trying to culturally appropriate another culture.
Yes.
We got lambasted. White people got lambasted for daring to wear a sombrero on Cinco de Mayo because we're appropriating another culture.
That's right.
Well, I don't think in the history of the world there's ever been a black person who's been born with straight blonde hair. Okay?
That's right. That's right.
Was Joy Reid culturally appropriating my culture? I'm offended by that, John.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Andy, thanks a lot for the call. A lot of good stuff in that. Tim in Wildwood. Tim, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. First time call for this show.
Thank you.
And enjoy listening all the time. Also, It's good to hear Sarah. She's been, involved in talk radio for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I remember her 30 years ago. I won't say she was extremely liberal, but she was much more liberal than she is now.
That's right, yeah.
And I am so happy. Sarah is a wonderful person that, she is, through her experiences and observations has moderated quite a bit. And I know that she's a great person just by listening to her. I didn't call to talk about that, though. In the same vein that the conversation's been all morning, but now bring it to state politics. While we have an election in 1 year for Donald Trump, and I think it's very likely that he'll become president, in 2 years, we have a state gubernatorial election where it seems likely at this point that Jack Ciattarelli will become the next governor.
I hope so. I hope so.
I hope so, too.
I really do. Well, we're going to do our part. Believe me, we're going to do our part.
Here's what we have to do as the electorate. Historically, conservatives, I won't say Republicans, but conservative politicians who get elected into the office, they are good at fixing the screw-ups that the liberals have created. For example, Obamacare, that is a mess. But, the conservatives will go in and tweak things to make it work.
Yeah.
I don't want the liberal policies to work at all. I want them to be absolved, to be abolished. We need to, in the state of New Jersey, we need to undo the liberal agenda in the education system. Our kids are being indoctrinated, not educated. We need to undo all of the shenanigans in elections and voting. We need to undo safe haven communities. We need to undo all of the liberal agendas that have been established over the years. And I liken it to football. The liberals will push and push and push and push until they get, goals and they score points and all of that. Conservatives, they're okay if they just make first down. We're happy. Oh, yeah, we got a guy in the office, and then we go about our merry way. Now, part of that is because, we're heavily involved in our families and we're raising our kids, and we want the good life, and I get that. I'm one of them. But it's not going to be good enough to stop the liberals from getting their next first down. When we get possession of the ball, we need to drive them back. We need to score points, and we need to be victorious in turning the liberal agenda, not just in the past 5 or 10 years. Certainly, Governor Murphy has, exponentially ramped up all of the liberal agendas. But it just as the prior caller mentioned, dating back 20, 30 years, to, I forget their names already, but McGreevey and that whole era,
Yeah.
For example, when I don't want to go off on a tangent. We need to push back and not make their stupid ideas work. We need to reverse their agendas and take back the ground that we have lost. Common sense ideas, common sense agendas, common sense principles that are good for everybody.
That's right.
While I sound very conservative, I'm also libertarian. And you know what? If you want to do drugs and if you have a gay lifestyle, that's your business. I don't want to know about it. But you know what? Don't tell me that I am wrong for protecting my children.
That's right. That's right.
From liberal and destructive ideas.
That's so spot on. So
okay.
Right.
So
right.
Every listener, both in the presidential election and the gubernatorial election coming up in 2 years, and it starts locally, with your assembly people and your state senators and, your mayors and your school boards, get involved and push back every day. Don't just get the win and say, okay, now we can go back. Donald Trump's going to take care of us, or Jack Ciattarelli's going to take care of us, or, whatever. Insist that Ciattarelli reverses the bullcrap that Murphy has done.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Tim, an excellent call. Really, really good stuff. Thanks for the call. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 2 rapidly coming to a close. We'll talk about hour number 3 in a couple of minutes. We'll come back with more and Talk with a Purpose after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, a couple of minutes left of hour number 2, and hour number 3 we'll have more of our conversation about, hey, Trump derangement syndrome, all kinds of stuff. I just wanted to pass this along to you. Chris Christie, guess how many votes he got in Iowa? You want to take a guess? It's under 100. All right. Chris Christie got 35 votes. Wow. He's doing great.
You're number 2 after the news here.
35 votes. Chris Christie. And somebody texted me about this and what Tim was just talking about. And I'm going to relate this to football. They say when a team really takes another team down, finish the job. In other words, finish them. Really, really put a beating on them to the point where they can't come back. And I think that's what Tim was saying here in so many words. Republicans are just happy to win the election. And I don't think that's the way to go. So, we got to finish the job. I understand that the ratio of Democrats to Republicans is, I don't know, what is it? 5-1, 3-1, something. It's more Democrats than Republicans in the state of New Jersey. But when we get a good candidate like a Jack Ciattarelli, who I am hoping will be the next governor of the state of New Jersey, if we get him in, we got to keep him in. So we got to make it so that, he gets 8 years and instead of a guy like Murphy. And I'll tell you what, on the other side of the coin, Murphy's wife is running for Senate for the seat hopefully vacated by Bob Menendez. I do not want to see Tammy Murphy in the Senate. Not saying she's going to be filled, but does the apple fall far from the tree? So, that's the thing. So we just got to, hey, look, it's long-term planning. It's long-term. Not, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, whatever the term is. And that's what we have to do. And it's grassroots stuff. It's really building up the organization. So that's what I have to say about that. And that was a good call, by the way. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 2 is in the books. And that means hour number 3 is on the way. You know what we say. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. 5. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Also heard on 1450 AM and always online at WPGTalkRadio.com. A lot to talk about in this hour as we have, boy, this show is really moving along today, as it is always. I mean, just flies by. I start off and then the next thing you know, I'm signing off. So that's the way it should be. Take a couple of calls, then we'll get into some other topics here in a moment. But let's talk to Kevin in EHT. Kevin, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. I'd like to make 2 points if I could.
Sure.
Regarding the Supreme Court said it was not legal for Biden to forgive college loans. Now,
right.
I only got your opening statements and part of your last caller. So if you talked about this already, just tell me and I'll watch or listen to your podcast.
No, we didn't. We didn't talk about the student loan thing at all. No.
Okay, is that you could almost call that election interference because you're basically buying young votes.
Yes, that's true.
But if the Supreme Court said it's not legal, is it up to the Supreme Court to call out Joe Biden and say, hey, you can't do this?
Well, no, I think, and again, I'm not a legal scholar, but they would rule on that particular aspect of the student loan thing. They said it was unconstitutional. So that's all they would rule about. But he can go back and try to do it another way. He can maybe vary the bill as he would present it. So he could do that. But I don't think it's going to get any traction anytime soon.
But it's happening. They said it was another I forget how many million loans, and this time the last time it was like people that owed less than say 50,000, and then this time it's supposed to be teachers and first responders and firemen and stuff like that. So I don't know. You can only go by what you hear.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know too much about that, and I'll look it up this week. But if he's presenting it in a different way, and if somebody puts it before the Supreme Court again in the different way, then they could squash that too. So it just depends.
I mean, John, it makes no. Well, why aren't the banks griping about it, or why isn't whoever is owed this money? I mean, if I owed you $5,000 and Joe Biden said, "Oh, you don't have to pay John back. It's okay." Wouldn't you be a little miffed by that?
Yeah, but I think what he would do, or would have the government pay off the loan. That's what I think he would do. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that
is what happened. Yeah. In other words, the banks are not going to take the hit. The government's going to take the hit because they're going to pay the loan off for them. That's,
okay. Either way. Okay.
Yeah. That's how I think it's going to work. Yeah, the taxpayer. So eventually we're going to pay for it, but I think that's where it becomes a constitutional thing, where taxpayers are paying a loan that you got that they didn't get, but you got, and you got the benefit, and they're paying it back. So I don't think in the long run, I don't care what he tries to do. I think however way he spins it, I don't think he's going to pass. I don't see it. I really don't see it. So, he can try all he wants.
Crooked Joe. Point number 2, John. I don't know what town you live in.
Brigantine.
Locally.
Brigantine.
Okay. I guess I have heard you say that. But if you're familiar with this area, in Egg Harbor Township, there was an article in the paper where they're going to be closing Summers Point Mays Landing Road, basically between Schoolhouse Road and Steelmanville Road, and it's going to be closed for a year. Now, that's a main artery. A lot of people going to Ocean City for the summer, cut through and stuff like that. But just on the other side of where they're closing this, you have the Scullville Firehouse.
Yes.
Now, if the Scullville Firehouse has a fire or an emergency in Zion Park or any of those developments that are between Ocean Heights Avenue and Schoolhouse Road, the first responders are going to have to drive down Robert Best Road all the way to either Boston Avenue or the point where Robert Best comes into Zion and then turn around and go back to these homes. It's going to add a phenomenal amount of time for a response. And I just wondered if any of there is a parallel road called Bevis Mill Road that runs parallel with Ocean Heights. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
But that's closed also for a bridge. So could any of your county brass out there possibly comment on the thinking behind this, why they had to close the one while the other is closed? Because it's really, I'm not thinking of myself driving. I'm thinking of if the fire department
that's a good
has
point.
to make a response.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's going to be horrible.
Now, is that, is that Atlantic County or Cape May County? Is Atlantic County? Okay.
Mays Landing Road is a county road. That's
okay.
Atlantic County.
We'll call Danny Levinson's office and kind of find out about that, because I see your point. I see your point. Then that is a valid point. So we'll check on that.
John, thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the call. Vinny in Hamilton. Vinny, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hi. What a great morning. I love the snow. So beautiful out, right? You didn't have to drive in it. It's beautiful. Now, Trump. Why are these people so mad? I mean, all he wants to do is have immunity against infinite crimes. He just wants to be able to commit crimes left and right against whoever and get away with it. Now, should that be for Joe Biden, too?
Well, I guess it already has been.
I mean, according to Trump, he could put a hit out on him and lock him up, and it'd be okay, right?
Well, but Biden has committed.
That's what he said. Did you read his Truth Social?
No, I didn't see that.
Well, how do you miss these things? How do you miss his Truth Social? And I was watching his New Hampshire rally, and he got so confused, worse than Joe Biden, got so confused that he thinks Nikki Haley was in charge of security on January 6th. He wouldn't be in this jam, he said. He wouldn't be in this trouble if it wasn't for Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley was in charge of security, and he offered her 10,000 troops, and she declined. That's what he said. The crowd went silent. They didn't know what to say. He's senile because he figured out what a whale looks like on a picture. He keeps bragging about how he's so smart. He aced the test where if you got hit in the head really bad with a hammer, he could pass the test.
Are you a Trump hater?
No, I love Trump. I just can't believe the other people don't see what I see. Finally, I love him, but do you see what I'm talking about?
Well, not really, but I'll take
hold on. When he was talking about Nikki Haley at the rally, was she in charge of security on January 6th?
I don't think so.
No. Was he confused? Was he lying? He'll tell you he wasn't lying and she was in charge. How about he wants immunity for infinite crimes? No president should have that, right? Are you American? Do you think we should have a dictator that can do whatever he wants?
No. No.
Exactly. That's what Trump wants with his immunity from infinite crimes.
No.
He posted her on True Social. He posted it. Read his True Social. Read all his wacky sayings. You would say, wow, is this guy living in someone's basement wearing a tinfoil hat? Yeah, and you're going to vote for him, but he'll lose because 80 million people voted the other way. I don't know where you think all of a sudden they're switching.
We'll see.
Trump is a crazy loon who doesn't care about anybody but the money.
Benny, thanks for the call. Well, that's certainly a different perspective. Oh, Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. 609-407-1450. Got a couple open lines here, a rare moment in the show where we do have some open lines. So you want to jump in here, you feel free to do that. 609-407-1450. Speaking of Trump, last week, the Oregon Supreme Court said they will allow Trump to run in the state's presidential primary. They said it wouldn't take up the issue of whether he's qualified to get on the state ballot. So the U.S. Supreme Court will consider, they will rule on the Colorado challenge on February 8th. So in the meantime, he's still on the ballot there. Also, a Maine judge on Wednesday put a hold on election officials' decision on former President Donald Trump's ballot status to allow time for the U.S. Supreme Court to rule on a similar case in Colorado. So he would still be on the ballot in Maine. Now, the judge in this case, Superior Court Judge Michaela Murphy, concluded that she lacked authority to stay the judicial proceedings, but wrote that she did have authority to send the case back to the Secretary of State with instructions to await the outcome of the U.S. Supreme Court case before issuing a new ruling. So far on the ballot in Maine, on the ballot in Colorado, but the ruling of the Supreme Court will come on February 8th. We'll see. 609-407-1450. Linda in Absecon. Linda, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, John.
We haven't heard from you in a while.
I missed you too.
What happened? You
Well, I did have COVID. I thought I was a pure blood.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not vaxxed. And here for all this time I thought I was a pure blood. So far my husband's still a pure blood. But I for about 8 days or something like that, feel a little lousy and wicked sore throat.
Yeah?
Yeah. And like razor blades.
Jeez, that's a shame.
Really hurt.
Wow.
And felt punk for a little bit, but took a test, and after 10 days, and it was finally gone.
Well, we're glad you're back.
Well, thank you very much. So, wouldn't it be nice if the American hostages were back from what happened October 7th over in Israel?
It would be.
Have we heard anything about them?
No.
So the fate of the American hostages is up in the air, with little prospect of stalled hostage talks resuming soon. Do you remember when Reagan became president?
Oh, yes. Oh, do I remember that?
They said, here, take him. I don't even think he was just about elected or I don't know. I don't even know if he got into the White House.
No. Here it was.
Before.
I remember.
And
he was inaugurated, and in his acceptance speech, he said the hostages have been freed.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's really that's what happened. Yeah, and I said to myself, I am so glad I voted for Ronald Reagan. And Jimmy Carter was a nice guy. He was way over his head as far as the president is concerned, and that's how it happened. Yeah.
So it was during his speech that
he announced it then, but they were working on it prior to him being inaugurated. So the minute he got in there, the hostages were freed.
So we're still in this position where it says that the fate of American hostages is up in the air, with little prospect of stalled hostage talks resuming soon. Wow. And I think it would be a different scenario if President Trump was in office.
Oh, yeah. And don't be surprised if that history repeats itself if he's inaugurated next year. I don't want to wait that long, but,
And by the way, President Trump misspoke when he said Nikki Haley. He meant Pelosi.
Yeah.
So,
I vaguely remember that, and I was saying, what Nikki Haley? What So he made a mistake. I mean, doesn't everybody make mistakes?
I do.
Yeah, we all do. Oh,
thanks, John.
Linda, thanks for the call, and glad you're well. Andy in Brigantine is back. Andy, good morning.
Yeah, I'm going for a hat trick today, John.
Why not?
You had that seminar caller on there. Anybody who thinks that Donald Trump is senile, in the immortal words of Ed Norton, or in the immortal words of Ralph Cramden, Alice, somewhere in the world there's a straitjacket waiting for that man.
That's great. That's great.
Donald Trump, think of everything. Think of all the pressure that Donald Trump is under right now. They're trying to put this man in jail for the rest of destroy his life's work, take all his money from him, not allow him to do business in New York. Do you think maybe once in a while Donald Trump will slip and give the wrong name?
Yeah.
Do you really think that Donald Trump believes that Nikki Haley was the one who allowed January 6th to happen?
No.
Of course it was Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
Okay. Now, as far as Donald Trump being a dictator, if you saw that interview with Sean Hannity, when Sean asked him about, getting back at his enemies, this, that, and the other, and Trump said he would be a dictator on the first day, and it was a joke.
Right.
They have these things called jokes, but Democrats have no sense of humor. He said he would be a Democrat. He would be a dictator on the first day. He would close the border, and he would drill, baby, drill. And then after that, he wouldn't be a dictator anymore.
That's right.
Now they left all that part out. Now here's the part about Donald Trump saying that he should have the immunity. And if you watched the other night, when Trump did the interview with Sean again, he said that all presidents should have immunity. And he even defended Barack Obama. Because remember, Barack Obama sent a drone which killed an American citizen overseas without even a trial. Obama sent a drone, I'm going to repeat, Obama sent a drone which killed an American citizen with no trial. And what President Trump said the other night, he said, if a president makes a decision to send a drone or to have an attack, and there's some collateral damage where innocent people get killed, he said, if you tie the president's hands, any president, if you tie a president's hands where he can't launch that attack because he's afraid once he's out of office that he'll be thrown in jail, then the president has no power. You've taken away, he's the commander in chief. So he was saying that not just him, he was saying the president, any president. And again, he defended Obama. A president has to have that latitude to make decisions, and sometimes things are going to go wrong if a president is in constant fear that something he does that is well-intentioned at the time that he's going to be thrown in jail once he leaves office, then you've made the president impotent. And that's what this seminar caller fails to understand. But, when you watch CNN or MSNBC, that's what you get.
Yeah,
that's what you get.
That's exactly right. Andy, thanks a lot for the call again. Appreciate it. 609-407-1450. We have Dan in Linwood, John in Ocean City again, and maybe we'll have you at 609-407-1450. More Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money. Inspiration for financial wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. And again, if you want to listen to any of our shows at any time, you just Google John DeMasi podcast and they all come up. Over 200 shows. That's all you do. It's very simple. It's the radio version of On Demand. Try it sometime. I mean, I did, and I got all the shows. Google John DeMasi podcasts and all the shows come up and you can listen anytime you want. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Dan is in Linwood. Dan, good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, it's the best description is an accurate description. Seminar caller.
Yes.
He fakes being a Trump guy and then he bashes him for the next, 5 minutes. And everybody knows that Nancy Pelosi and the mayor both turned down the troops.
That's right. That's right.
Donald Trump did it. He requested them 3 different times, and the most important thing, he did it in writing.
Yes.
So the idea of those troops not being available, guess what? The only reason they're not available, Nancy Pelosi and the other lady who had to sign off on it.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
And John, you're a sharp guy. This thing in Georgia. Now, if you hire somebody who's totally incapable of doing their job, as far as an attorney and a prosecutor, it's in a totally different field. You know, parking tickets, ambulance guys who do nothing wrong with those guys, but they have their specialties.
Yes.
This guy's involved in a RICO case, and he's making top dollar.
$654,000, Dan. He's gotten $654,000.
And then he meets with the White House. My question is, who paid for the flight from Georgia on 2 different occasions so he can go up and consult with the federal government, who stated that they have, Georgia stated they had no cooperation with the federal government on this case? I would say that would be a lie.
Yes.
And
yes, it would.
The proof is the billing. The guy billed the White House for 16 billable hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know.
You take the money, John, you take the money.
Yeah.
That you paid the fella, and the fella ends up being, hey, I'm a nice guy. Let me take you to Napa Valley twice. let me take you on several cruises. Let me take you here. Let me take you there. We're going to go top cabin every place we go. And you think it's his money, or you think the money originally came from the Georgia taxpayers?
The Georgia taxpayers. Well, because he's sleeping with Fannie Willis.
Yeah, and there's a divorce in Georgia. You can't even. That's basically breaking the law down there.
Yeah.
They have, archaic laws, but they still have them.
Yes.
But the idea of this guy being put in a place where he's not capable of.
Yes.
And this is the trial where they have 18 different people, and the judge says one of the most complicated things he's ever seen. And you have a guy who has no expertise in RICO cases.
Yeah, he's. You're right. He has never tried a case. He has never handled a case. He's never had any experience in anything like this. So how was he qualified for that?
Now let's move on to New York. And a young lady says she was raped in a dressing room, but she can't provide the year it happened. Now, I don't know, John. If something really significant happened to you, let's say you were in a bicycle accident.
Yes.
And it was serious. You hit your head and you were in the hospital for 10 days and you're all busted up.
Yeah.
Isn't it a chance that you'd be watching TV and some significant event would be happening that you could tie the year together?
Yeah. Yes.
And the lady can't provide the police report, I guess, because she never made one. And she can't provide the hospital report because apparently she never went. So I'm having trouble putting together a case.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. You know, it reminds me, I used to host a weekly health show. And whatever we were talking about, let's say it was eye surgery. And a caller would call in and say, I had my surgery on my right eye in July 11th, 1984. And then in 1986, I had another surgery. So like significant events, people would know the exact date and the exact year. So I find it hard to believe that she doesn't know the year and she doesn't know, all of these things. I don't believe it,
John, I got one last one, and that has to do with the Letitia and then what's going on in New York and making it her life's goal to get Trump.
Yes.
What I would do if I was Trump is I would create a campaign commercial, and then I would the commercial would be realtors touring Mar-a-Lago, and you do basically a 60-second tour of the property, and then you put the sign up, 18 million, then you put a cross through it, and then you say 500 million.
That's a good one. Dan, thanks a lot for the call. All of these things just keep coming. John in Ocean City. John is back. Welcome.
Yes, good morning. Regarding Mr. Trump, President Trump, raping this woman, it was in a posh, upscale Manhattan department store with a monitor standing on a standby female monitor, making sure that what goes into the dressing room comes out of the dressing room. Now, she was looking the other way when President Trump snuck into the dressing booth and raped her. But I didn't hear her scream rape, so the story's full.
Yeah, it's a questionable story. They don't have anything, and they have cameras in those dressing rooms, and they don't have anything on camera. They don't have Trump in the store at all. And, I find it hard to believe. I don't know about what you think. Here's a guy who owns hotels, and he's going to do something in a dressing room. He's got his choice of rooms.
Yeah. And that's another thing. The guy has money. He doesn't have to run for office. Per conversation of the general caller that called in. He loves Trump so much, but he's going to have to vote for Biden. When Trump was stomping the pavement and packing in whole stadiums of people, Biden was in his jammies in his basement.
Yep.
One of the few times he came out to campaign, he's in an outdoor podium, and I saw this and heard this on audio video. He said he was glad to be back in Ohio, and he had a backdrop of palm trees. Okay, it was in Florida. There's your super genius for you.
Yeah.
And as far as this, I think it's the same guy that said that President Trump's going to go to jail for being a criminal. How about Biden on a senator's salary selling beachfront property worth $6 million for $1.35 million in Florida. I mean, he's also not a good businessman in addition to being a crook. And he has a history of buying estates worth in the millions of dollars. The real crooks are actually in the Democrat Party. There's some rhino Republicans that are crooks, yeah. And Bob's right. It's a uniparty. It's the Republican Party at this point. Anyway, this guy here that likes to talk about people taking up the back end. Well, what do you expect from a guy that has his head up his... Thanks.
Thanks, John. John provided his own sound effects. That's good, huh? 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. We do have some time left on the show, so if you want to jump in here with a call or two, feel free. 609-407-1450. Illegal immigration. I am so tired of hearing about this. I read an article last week that the Texas border, you know how many people crossed? Well, they said 10,000 a day. But overall, they estimate so far, and I don't know how long this so far is, 225,000 people. Can you imagine? 225,000 people? So our own illustrious governor, Phil Murphy, you don't really know where he stands. Well, this week he signed 3 bills aimed at improving immigrants' rights in New Jersey. But then he says local officials don't have the resources to take migrants in. This is according to Sergei Demofak. He is the coordinator at a human rights group, and he criticized Murphy for his ambivalence toward helping asylum seekers passing through New Jersey. Now, how is he ambivalent? I don't understand that. But Murphy, he said, should be more outspoken on this issue. Meanwhile, Texas Governor Greg Abbott said he's sending tens of thousands of migrants from the Texas border towns to places like New York City. And by the way, the buses are stopping in Secaucus. And I wouldn't put it past them if eventually they come down this way. I mean, because New York doesn't want them. So anyway, Murphy told a New York radio station on Wednesday that the way migrants are being used as pawns is completely unacceptable. So what is it, Phil? Do you want them? You're passing laws to give them more rights, but then, we can't handle them here. Again, politicians talking out of both sides of their mouth? Phil Murphy. 609-407-1450. Got some open lines. We'll take a break here. Talk with the purposes of the show. Saturdays 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. 609-407-1450. We'll come back. More Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Windy and very cold this afternoon with times of clouds and sunshine, the high 25. Mainly clear, windy tonight, low temperature 16. A cold wind tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, high 32 to wrap the weekend. Come Monday, partly sunny, not as cold with a high 39. Tuesday looks mostly cloudy and a bit milder with a high up to 47. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Oh, I just was reading a text. I don't know what to talk about next. I got too many things. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. If you missed any of today's show, you get a 2-hour replay, 5 until 7 Sundays. Here, it's Talk with a Purpose replay right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and also heard on 1450 AM and online at WPG Talk Radio 95.5. That's how we do it here on WPG. I started the show talking about Nikki Haley and about some of the things that she is saying, and it reminds me of Kamala Harris, in that she talks out of both sides of her mouth. Kamala Harris, 3 years ago, when she was running for vice president, she made a slightly different assessment of the issue of race in America. And she was on Good Morning America, which I haven't watched that show in, I think it's 5 years now. It is so liberal. I can't take it. Kamala Harris was on Good Morning America 3 years ago, and she said, "I don't think America is a racist country, but we also do have to speak the truth about the history of racism in our country and its existence today." Okay. So what is it? Is it or not? But last Wednesday on The View, she said the history of racism in America shouldn't be reduced to a soundbite. Racism has played a role in the history of our nation. And we talked about that at the beginning of the show, that Nikki Haley seems to talk out of both sides of her mouth. Common for a politician, yes, true. But that's what I'm wondering now. So I'm starting to question whether Nikki Haley is the real thing or just a fake, so to speak. So that's all I'm saying. And as far as Phil Murphy is concerned, I got a text during the break, and this is why I was coming back laughing about this. New York City will no longer accept illegals by bus. So Murphy is getting around that by busing them to the train station in Secaucus, and then they take the train into New York. Well, there's a train from... There's a train to Atlantic City. Maybe they divert the people to Philadelphia, and then they take the Gamblers Express to Atlantic City. Oh, boy. I could see that. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. If you want to chime in on Trump or Murphy or... I mentioned this before. Speaking of, do you want another 6 years of Murphy? Don't answer that. I don't know about you, but I don't think so. Who will be running for the Senate seat, assuming Bob Menendez does not run? And they're calling for, by the way, I don't normally commend Democrats, but I commend Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. He has constantly called for Menendez to resign, but the issue is here that Tammy Murphy is running for that seat. And do you want Tammy Murphy? But the candidate that I like, I mean, we don't have a Republican yet, but so far I like this guy. I mean, he's a Democrat, and I do like certain Democrats occasionally. Andy Kim, he's our congressman from, I believe he represents Burlington County and parts of our district, a small part, I think. He's not exactly ours, but he's in a neighboring district. He, in an internal poll conducted by Kim's campaign, it shows him with a double-digit lead over Tammy Murphy. Yay! Yay! I think I would endorse anybody but her. By the way, Tammy Murphy is a former Republican. She voted in the Republican primary as late as 2014. Another case of a politician voting, talking out of both sides of her mouth. Oh boy. Andy's back in Brigantine. Andy, good morning. You're going for the you're going for the hat, not the hat trick. The what is it?
Well, because John from Ocean City got 4, so I'm trying to compete with him now.
Okay.
I'm going for a personal best.
Oh, I know what it's called. It's called a cycle in baseball. You get a single, a double, a triple, and a home run. Okay. It's
as Johnny Carson would say, I did not know that. A cycle.
Okay.
A cycle. Okay.
Yeah.
So I keep forgetting to mention, it was one thing I wanted to mention my first call. Seth had been talking about the census, and a very interesting article that Seth wrote about this census and these questions that they're asking. And I didn't get his whole commentary, but I actually texted Seth, and I told him, and he knows this, and he wrote about it. So the purpose of the census, according to the Constitution, was simply to find out how many people are living in this country. That is the sole purpose of the census.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Right. Well, you're exactly right. So when you get that form, the only thing that you are required to answer is it asks how many people are living in your house. And I write down the number 1, and then I put it in the envelope, and I mail it to them. I do not answer any of the other questions. You know why? Because it's none of their damned business, and because I'm not constitutionally or legally required to do so, despite any of their threats of fines. As Seth alluded, since 2005, since they did this, there's been no fine, okay? So I would urge anybody who gets the census, the only question that you are required, according to our Constitution, to answer is how many people are living in your house. Now, I do believe that we need to get, I do believe the one question on there about being a citizen or not, or being here legally, because the whole purpose of knowing how many people are in this country is to figure out how many representatives that they should have, their representation.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Well, if you're here illegally, as far as I'm concerned, you don't deserve any representation.
That's right.
Broke our law.
That's right.
You broke our laws. So the only representation you deserve is a public defender.
Yeah.
Because you came here and you broke our law.
Right.
So that's that. All right, so that's that. John, what is if you had to sum up the platform of the Democrat Party in 2024, what would you say their platform is? because they're not talking about any of the things that they would do to make the country better. So what is their platform?
Well, so far, it's Donald Trump as a threat to democracy.
That's it. Say no more. Say no more. So Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. That's their platform. Now, with that in mind, why are they saying that he's a threat to democracy? Because of January 6th.
That's right.
So think about this, and we've talked about this before. If January 6th had not happened, then there would be no Democrat, there would be no platform for the Democrat Party. And I've maintained all along that January 6th was planned to happen. It was designed to happen. It was allowed to happen because, as the one caller talked about with Nancy Pelosi, they refused the protections that President Trump was offering them. So It was allowed to happen, and I maintain that January 6th must happen. It had to happen, or there would be no platform for the Democrat Party to run on. Because, listen, it isn't just about Donald Trump. They've gone after people who were there, who weren't even. They've gone after people who were not there. They've gone after people who were in their homes when January 6th happened, and their basis is, well, because you're a Trump supporter on social media, whatever, you are also a threat to democracy because you are capable then of doing the same things that those few rioters did on January 6th. By the mere fact that you are a Trump supporter, it makes you a threat to democracy. So, and we talked about this earlier, about them going after Christians, etc. Without January 6th, they could not go after Trump on his being a threat to democracy, nor could they go after and silence and shut down and persecute half the country who support him. Joe Biden called us all, John, he called me and you a semi-fascist. So January, he did in that speech in Philadelphia, with the red background.
Yeah.
So January 6th was the pretext for everything they are doing to Donald Trump over the past few years, primarily what they are running on in 2024, which is that he is a threat to democracy. Without January 6th, that would not be possible, John.
That's right. That's right. And really, Andy, they don't have anything. Instead
of course not.
Instead of saying, we're going to curb inflation and we're going to cut the interest rates and we're going to help you, restore, some of the things that we had before. It's unfortunate that we had inflation and all that, but we're going to try to right this ship. They don't say anything about that. Nothing at all.
It's true, John. And the other day, once again, Joe Biden was touting his Bidenomics. Okay? And he said that under Bidenomics, the poor have done better, the middle class have done better, and the wealthy have done better. And then he said, but the wealthy have to start paying their taxes. Now, think about this, John. Joe Biden and Jill Biden set up an S corporation when he left the White House as the vice president. Joe and Jill Biden set up and what that S corporation allowed them to do was to save as much as $300,000 on payroll taxes. And it was the money. It was the money that Joe Biden got from speeches and his book deal. Okay.
Yes.
Now the payroll taxes, John, fund Medicare. The payroll taxes fund Obamacare. So think about this. Joe Biden formed an S corporation to avoid paying the very taxes that are used to fund Obamacare, which he and Barack Obama shoved down our throats and made us pay for.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah, I follow you. Good stuff today. Good stuff, Andy. We got to run. Sorry about that. 609-407-1450. We are wrapping up today's edition of Talk with a Purpose. We have one more break, and then we're coming back. We'll talk to Craig, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. Final thoughts on today's edition of Talk with a Purpose after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose. Again, 609-407-1450. We'll have time for maybe one or two more quick calls here. 609-407-1450. Let's talk to Craig again in Northfield. Craig, good morning.
Well, I got to tell you, I enjoyed it. John, you inspired me to call in again. But
That's good.
Well, Nancy Pelosi, the one that made so much money, it would take her 300 years working for Congress to make that kind of money that she had.
That's right.
But, Nikki, she was only worth $100,000 before she started running for this, after she got out of the White House there working for, the United Nations. Now she's worth $8 million. But John, I like it when you go cheese. Did you hear what Marjorie Greene had to say?
No, I didn't hear it.
World War III. Because you heard that North Korea now has a bomb that they can let go underwater now that can cause a tsunami. Okay, so you can imagine what's going to happen in the South Pacific very shortly. And then you saw that Pakistan is shooting missiles at Iran, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
And we're shooting missiles.
Yeah.
Russia's shooting missiles. And very shortly, I think that China will be shooting missiles. But the big thing about this January 6th thing that John was speaking about with this Nancy Pelosi was, see, when I really do believe that it was a setup, because when you see the pipe bomber talking to all those people there, so we know that was part of a setup. Then you got Epps pushing the people into the White House. Was that part of a setup?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens? You got all these people coming into the White House, and Nancy Pelosi says, we got an emergency. So that takes away the vice president's right at that juncture, because don't forget, Ted Cruz was on that. Rand Paul, they were all going to ask, that they take it back to the States. Now, do you think that Ted Cruz is a dummy?
No.
How about Rand Paul? What do you think about him,
No.
Mr. Scientist there? He's
No.
doing a pretty good job with Dr. Fauci, isn't he?
Yes. Yes,
Not
he
so
is.
stupid. So let's take a listen to some of these smarter men that got foiled, because see, originally they were going to stick with the plan, but then they folded because what they saw happen, was what, in my opinion, was a setup, because Nancy Pelosi knew that when that occurred, then all the power left Pence and went into her hands, and she got the call who was going to be the next president of the United States. You didn't know that, though, did you?
No.
And so who didn't call the National Guard in?
She didn't.
That's right. Nancy Pelosi did it, along with the Capitol Police, who was in the driveway. You can look it up, John. I'm going to send it over to you. Because, see, these are the things that we talked about. And then you had that woman that got shot. No, they didn't shoot her with a taser, mind you. Right? Don't you think they should have shot her with a taser?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
But did she have a gun out?
No,
just shot dead cold. And so then they lied about the guy that got killed, and he didn't get killed. He had a heart attack afterwards. So when you look at the whole ball of wax, it kind of reminds me of the 9/11 story. And I know people are going to think, oh, my God, this guy's got a tinfoil hat that is compared to none. But did you know that the Pentagon is the most secure building in the world?
I would think so, yeah.
Well, no, with all the cameras and all the facilities that they got to shoot missiles.
Yeah.
And that plane came right in on them, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that's a little suspicious, too, to me. And don't forget, when all that happened, okay, George Bush Jr., his boy over there that was in charge of the defense, he was getting audited in building number 7 that didn't get hit by those planes but came down. So just remember, people, I think we got a bigger story here than what anybody knows, okay? We killed a president. We killed one of our top black leaders in this country. There's something wrong with this picture. And I think the only one that's ever going to uncover it all, and that's why he's had so many death threats, is Donald J. Trump. I'll leave you with that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Craig. Boy, that's a heavy call to end the show. And you know what I thought, speaking of, and Craig was making a reference to Martin Luther King. He had been, he was in Memphis, and it was the trash strike or something, and he had received several death threats. Why does a person stand on the deck of I think it was a 2 or 3 story motel? Why do you stand on a balcony? You talk about a sitting duck? So I always wondered about that. I mean, he went out on the balcony and what? Like 3 people were with him and they shot him and nobody else? So I question that. Well, as we look at the clock, geez, the show really flew by today. We talked about a lot of things, and we will continue to talk about a lot of things next week. Thanks to Chris Coleman, our program director and producer. Thanks to you, the callers who have called, and some have called several times, and we appreciate that. What do you do without it during the week? You call Harry, right? Okay. Oh, I'm John DeMasi. Thanks for listening. And as you know, we'll talk to you next Saturday, 9 till noon. Talk with a purpose right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.